Hi, I'm Lauren Westwood. Welcome to my vlog, which is a busy person's guide to how to write, structure, and edit a novel. Last time we looked at how problems and obstacles get in the way of characters achieving their goal, and this produces the engine or the narrative drive for the novel. It's these little twists and turns that drive the novel onward to its ultimate conclusion. So today we're going to be talking about that conclusion, or what I would call the resolution of the novel. So if the beginning and the middle are all about the journey, the resolution is where the end is in sight, where everything comes together one way or another. So let's find out why resolution is important and how to achieve it. Now you may wonder why we're spending time thinking about the resolution at the structuring stage of the novel before you've even started writing. And the answer is, again, our journey analogy. What we've been doing is we've been creating a roadmap for your novel with a starting point, a middle, and an end, and learning how we're going to get from point A to point C. Creating tension throughout the book by setting up the goals, problems, and obstacles. But even with the greatest roadmap in the world, you wouldn't set out for a journey without knowing at least roughly where you're going. So today's output is going to have two parts. You're going to have, let's say, half a page of bullet points or a paragraph or two on how you want your novel to end. And then you're going to have another half page or so of bullet points on what the message is that you want the reader to take away from the book when they finish the last page and they're ready to write that review to be posted on Amazon someday when you publish it. So what do you want them to take away when they finish writing the book? And this is what we call in writing jargon the theme of the novel. So first of all, let's talk about what the ending needs to achieve. So what you've done by all the work you've done so far is set the reader on a journey. They know and hopefully love the characters that you've created, and they're really invested in the story. If the character feels stress, then the reader feels stress. If the character finds love, then the reader hopefully feels all, warm and fuzzy. So whatever you set up in the first 85 to 90% of the novel, you've set up the reader's expectation, and it's up to you as the author to, more or less fulfill those expectations. Now, part of how you're going to resolve this depends on the genre of the novel. So for contemporary romance, readers normally expect the happily ever after, that the heroine will find love, at least in some point during the novel. So I think it would be kind of odd about a woman who, let's say she opens a dog walking business, meets a stranger in a dog park, has a Mr. Darcy moment, and a nice romance developed. Ultimately they have a feel-good kiss, and then he pulls out a knife and kills her off. Okay, now that's a pretty extreme example. But the flip side is that in a suspense novel or a thriller, readers, expect that, don't want the ending to be wrapped up too neatly. If all the clues throughout the novel point to A as the murderer, and then you make A the murderer, that might make some readers unhappy if they're expecting some kind of a twist, for example, that isn't there. So anyway, it obviously depends on the book that you're writing, and it's okay to push the boundaries, especially if you're writing for your own pleasure rather than getting published. But in general, a good rule of thumb to think about, even before you've started out, is to try to deliver what you've promised readers in the first 3/4 of the book. So right now I'm going to give you a few specific elements to consider for the last, say, 10% of your book. So number one, has the character met their goal or not? 2, have they met their original goal, or have they rejected the original goal in order to achieve something better? So I talked on the episode on character about my main character in the book Moonlight on the Thames, Nicola. So she had an original goal of keeping herself closed off from people, rejecting Christmas, and just generally getting through the holiday season and working hard. So as the novel progresses, she begins to reject these goals and set new ones. So the question is, by the end of the book, has she achieved something better? Has she changed? And this again relates, to the character's journey throughout the book. So right now it might be a good time to go back to the exercise that you did on character. And so you look at your character's starting point and now go back and see in which ways, have they changed. So this will also require you to go back and look on the section that you wrote about the lies or falsehoods that the character believed about the world when you started out. Does the character now see the truth of the world for what it is? And are they better or are they worse off, for this? So again, with Nicola, she learns that she has to open up and confront some of the things that happened to her in her past in order to get through them. She, learns that she has to forgive herself in order to be able to forgive other people and move on. So, at the end of the book, she still has these sort of tough, powerful characteristics that she had at the beginning of the book that make her the person that she is. But she's also been transformed into, some of these goals that she have been, and characteristics have been transformed into something more productive and worthwhile. So when I started out, I originally didn't know exactly where the book was going to end, and the ending of the book went through several different permutations. The original ending that I had, she just kind of accepted this bad thing in the past that had happened to her and moved on. But I wasn't 100% happy with that. I thought that it was more realistic for her and her personality to confront this individual that caused her this problem in the first place, and to at least confront him, even if she can't change the past. So another thing you want to look up or to consider when you're writing a resolution is, are all the loose ends tied up? So this is more of an editing or final draft point than a first draft point, but it's just something to consider when you're writing. Make sure that you don't leave things hanging unless you intend deliberately to leave things hanging, and this is in line with what your reader would expect, from the genre. So, for example, if you're writing a thriller, it may well work to leave a cliffhanger or something, if you're writing a series. But if you're writing a romance, you may need to, go back and look at the interactions that your character had with some of maybe the more minor characters. If they've had a fight, have they smoothed it over? If people agree to meet up for coffee in a scene, do they actually do it? So I did have this issue as well with Moonlight on the Thames. In the first draft, I wanted to end the book sort of before Christmas and then have an epilogue that was 6 months later. But I had set up a lot of time, or spent a lot of time setting up plans for the character's Christmas, and then there was this issue of Nicola's aversion to Christmas, so I decided that I needed to actually put Christmas into the final version of the book. So this was put in there to demonstrate the further change in the character, and also to to tie up some loose ends. But again, you don't need to necessarily know all that much detail up front, but it is good to set up front what you want the reader to take away from the book. So we all want to enjoy the ride and have it be entertaining, but what about the book is actually going to stick into the reader's mind? Now this is what we call theme. So it may sound a little bit touchy-feely, but I'm going to give you a few examples. So think of a book that, what your favorite book, what made you laugh, what made you cry, what really made you fall in love with the characters, what was it that created the strong emotion. So for Cinderella, a story we all know, it's kind of a love conquers all theme. We invest in this theme because Cinderella was a good person who was oppressed and in some bad circumstances, and we root for her, and we're happy when she goes from rags to riches and finds love on her journey. Um, so this structure, is talking about a character who goes on a physical or emotional journey and is transformed by it. So do they find happiness? Do they find wisdom? Do they find, both? Knowledge, and what's the cost of finding this knowledge? So these are some of the various themes that you can work with or touch upon, but it's really what you want the reader to take away from it. So with Moonlight on the Thames, I wanted the reader to take away a few different things, sort of the healing power of love, and the idea that to love another person, you first have to forgive yourself and get rid of some of your emotional baggage. So it gave me a direction to go for when I was writing the whole book. So I certainly didn't know everything that was going to happen or all the themes at the onset, but it just helped to steer me in a particular direction. It's always good just when you're setting out to structure, your novel, to think about where you want to go with the book and what you want the reader to take away from it. So that's it for today's post. Thank you very much for watching. If you found it helpful, please do share or leave a comment. My next post is going to be on, so you planned your novel, now what? Tune back in, and we'll continue talking about the next steps. Thank you very much.